Welcome once again to this YouTube channel. Today we're gonna look at a dynamic loan amortization schedule. So this is the schedule that I have. Why do I say it is dynamic? Well, it's dynamic because I just put 10K there and everything changes. See, the 10K calculates the interest on the 10K and the rest, and we end up with zero here. So I can change the amount like so. Everything changes and gives you, if at all the schedule is, if at all the loan is 30K, how will the schedule look like? So you can change the amount. If it is for 6 months, you can change, it shows you only 6 months. This is our rate and this is the repayment, which everything changes dynamically based on the loan size and the period of the loan. Now, when I put 6 months, you can see we get zeros here. Later on, I'm going to show you how to eliminate these zeros. And also, I worked this using a 12-month period. That's why when it reaches 12, the zeros end. If I come here and I say, okay, I want for 20, you can see it goes up to 12 and does not work for the other up to 20. But later on, I'm going to show you a case like this one here. Even if I put 50 here, it's going to compute and make it more dynamic, and it stops on 50s, and you'll not see those zeros right there. So stick with me, and I show you on how to make it further dynamic, as in this case here. Now, let's jump into it straight away and let's get started. I have the loan here for 12 months. Interest rate is this. And I want the repayment. How much do I pay per month? There is a Google Sheet function, PMT, like so. This gets you the principal and interest you're supposed to pay per month. So I need to calculate that. From the docs, it says the first one is the interest rate. The interest rate should be per month. That's why I divided by 12. Then the number of periods are 12. Then the present value will be the loan amount. When I do that, I get what I'm supposed to pay per month. This is both interest and principal. I don't want this negative, so I'm going to put a negative right there. So how do I make the period dynamic? To depend on whatever is placed here. What you have to do here, use the sequence function. I have a video on the sequence function. To search my channel for that one. So it takes the number of rows. So I want, how many rows do I want? I want the number of rows that are put here. So if I say 12, there you go. It runs up to 12. If I change this one to 15, there you go. It runs up to 15. So by changing that, by using the sequence function and not hard coding the 1, 2, 3, I'm able to make the periods dynamic, which is our goal for this video. Next, how am I going to calculate the interest rate and also make it dynamic? There is a Google Sheet function, so which says interest IMT, payment on interest. This is the one I'm going to use. Comma, the rate. What is my rate? This is my rate here, comma, the period. This is my period here, which I'm going to select like so. Now, when I select this period, it is B18 here. So if I try to make this one 20, it is going to stop on 18. Later on, I'll show you how to make this one dynamic as well. Let's continue for now, comma, the number of periods. The number of periods is the number of months, which is in that column there. Then the last one is the present value, which is this. Close my brackets, press enter. I get only one figure. Why is it so? It is calculating multiple figures because I gave it an array of the periods, but because the array cannot be displayed in a single cell, so it is displaying everything in this cell. So how do I make it display in all the other cells? Highlight that, Control Shift Enter on your keyboard, press Enter, and there you go. So here it computes the interest rate for all the periods. So we'll see if I change this to 15, again, it will stop on this, but my periods are increasing. Later on, I'm going to show you with how we can make this one dynamic. Stick with me. So for now, let's go back to 12. Let's continue. The principal payment. How much principal am I going to pay per period? Remember, the amount, this total amount I'm paying is made up of two parts, the principal part and the interest part. So this one here gives me both the principal and interest, but now I'm interested in only how much interest principal I'm gonna pay. There is a Google Sheet function, which is PPMT, principal payment. Open, the rate is the same, comma, the periods, there are these ones here, 12 of them. I'm selecting up to 12. If I change to 15, this one will not work. I'll show you how to make it work. Then the number of periods is what is placed in here, comma, present value is this one. Close your comma, press enter again. It displays a single value, but I want multiple values of the principal payment. To activate that, I go back here, highlight this, Control Shift Enter, press Control Shift Enter if you're on Windows, and your function will be surrounded by an array formula. When you press enter, the multiple, all the values are gonna be displayed. That one is great. Then lastly here, I'm gonna use another function because I want my things to be dynamic. I don't want to place one formula here in each of these cells. So to make it dynamic, I'm using a lot of array formulas. The other formula that I'm using now is called the scan. And what does the scan do? It will go calculating row by row, displaying the value, the result in each of the rows. That's why I use the scan function. I have a video on the scan function. Please, if you don't understand how it works, take a look at it, and then you'll know what I'm doing. The thing here, what I'm doing is I'm trying to calculate the closing balance. And to calculate the closing balance, I need an initial value, which of the principal, which will be that, comma. Now I'm using an array formula. How much is gonna be paid per month in terms of principal? This is the value in this array here, comma, lambda. Lambda, I have a video on lambda. Please go and watch that one as well. So the accumulator, this is the accumulating value. So I'm going to be calculating row by row, and each value is going to be stored in a variable, which I'm calling SCC. Then V, this is the current value. So when I run this function the first time, the current value is going to be this value here, 1591. Then comma, then I'm going to say, I put a function, get the accumulator plus the current value, which is V. So when I run it for the first time and the result that's going to be displayed, it's going to say the accumulating value. I said start with 20K, which I gave here. That will be the value it uses as 20K plus the current value. Current value will be this one. So it will be this minus this. It gives me a result, display that. Now the result it has got in as my closing balance will change and become my SCC. Then it adds the next value, then displays the result. The previous result will come into SCC, then calculate add the next one like so. So it goes on accumulating, accumulating, accumulating like so. I have a video on that, the scan function. Please take a look at that. Press enter, and there you go. So the first time, what's going to happen is it's going to get 20K minus this one here. Press enter, like so. It's going. I'm doing addition actually. It is this plus this one. There you go. You get the 18 here, which is the same as that. In the next running of this scan function, it's going to get the previous 18, and I add on the next principal repayment to get the new closing balance. I come back again, and it's going to continue like that. It gets this one, adds on into the next one, press enter. You can see these values are the same. Very powerful array function. In one single formula, I can calculate 20, 100, whatever values you give me by just this single function. Very important. I have a video on that. Please watch it. That's how the scan function works. Now, lastly, I need the opening balance. I need the opening balance. The opening balance is going to be got by the closing balance. So I'm going to come here, say opening balance is got by the closing balance plus or minus, which will give me a plus. Press enter. There you go. I started with 20, which is this one here. And the way I'm using this approach, I want to make it dynamic as well. So again, when you look at this, I selected a range, subtracted another range, but I'm getting a single value to activate or enable the multiple values to be displayed. I'm going to surround this in the array function, Control Shift, enter on Windows. There you go. So when you do that, you're going to see that 20K minus the interest, minus the principal payment, we are going to get the closing balance. If you're doubting, Thomas, we can confirm that. Opening balance plus minus this, we get our closing balance, which is so. If I copy this down, you can see these figures match, meaning that everything is working fine. Great. That one is beautiful and working fine. The next question you're going to ask me is, what if I reduce this to 6? There you go. I get some errors here. I need to deal with those. Okay. But when I make it dynamic, I'll not need to deal with them. I think so. Now, if I put 9 here, there you go. Actually, I need to change this here to divide by 12, something like that. So I put 10, it runs up to 10. I put 12, it runs up to 12. Working fine. Now I say, okay, give me 15, and we see we get a problem. In the next part of the video, I'm going to show you this one here. Okay. Now the amounts here are also working fine. I can put 10K, that's fine. I can put 15,000, that is okay. So the next part of my video, I'm gonna solve this problem where I changed my periods to 15 and I get blanks here. How do we make this formula more dynamic such that when I change the period, I still get results, figures in here? Now, there is another Google function called indirect. What the indirect helps us, it takes a text as a reference. It reads a text as a reference. That's what I'm going to use in my case to make it dynamic. Let's look at our function here. When you look at this, we have F18. F18 is this last one here. We want to make it dynamic to depend on whatever value is placed in this cell here, such that it will automatically expand. How do we do that? Indirect function is the answer. Okay, let's see. Using this cell here, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to get the row. If I say row, then I give it this reference of the period, what happens? You get a 6. What does this 6 mean? It is in row 6. Very important. So I need to attach this one here to this such that if I'm at row 21, how do I get row 21? Here, you guessed it. I need to get this 6. I add this 15 here. Press enter. I get 21. Wonderful. Now, if I put 12 here, press enter, I get 18. I end on 18. And that is wonderful. If I say 6, I get 12, end on 12. And I end on 12 here. That is great. And all these errors will be. That is how we make our function dynamic. Now, the next step is, how do I tell these functions that have been put in here that, hey, don't stop on F18, go to 12. Or if I put here 15, like so, I tell it, don't stop on, currently it is stopping on 18, which is this one, but I want it to go up to 21. I already have my 21 right here. This is what I'm going to use. So I come back here. Now, in here, I'm going to do something like this. Type my function, which is called indirect, like so. Open the brackets. This in quotes, it takes a text. So a text is represented by quotes. So is quotes, I need to put that F, then the 18 needs to be dynamic depending on this value here. So I remove the static 18, put an n% reference to the dynamic value. That one will make it dynamic. I close my bracket right there. Again, I come back here. I say indirect. Open my brackets. In quotes, I still need that n%. The 18 is the row which I need to make dynamic, and I've made it dynamic by referencing this cell here. Now let's press enter and we see what happens. There you go. Now you can see it has computed up to row 21. And why it is returning 0? Because we have nothing in here and here. So let's first deal with these two, and then we see what happens. So in here, it is right here. Now, to save time, I'm going to borrow. When I look at this, this is E18, and I've used it right here. So let's go in there. Just pick that one, copy, then make this dynamic, Ctrl V. There is a closing bracket there. Press enter. Wonderful. You see now it goes up to 21. Wonderful, wonderful. Now we come back here. It is stopping on 18. I want it to continue further, but it is using B. I can come back again. I borrow this here. But remember, it is column B. This is column B. I come back here. I just change this to B. Change this to B. change this one to B. No, this one remains because it's the reference. There's an error there. Let me check out the error. I forgot to put a closing bracket here after the indirect function. Then Google just puts another one there. Then there you go. So you see now my principal payment is going up to 15. Wonderful. I need to do the same here. Now I need to make this one dynamic. B18. All I have to do, I say direct, indirect, in quotes, this B, and then I reference the 18 to my dynamic value, which is in this cell here. I close my bracket right there. I think this one is not there. Press enter, then there you go. Now it goes up to 18. Now all those errors that I was seeing have disappeared. Okay, let's see. Put a 6, there you go. It computes up to 6. Put a 10, there you go. It computes up to 10. So this is dynamic. If I want 100, I can put 100. If I want 20, I can put a 20. So there's no limit on how your thing works. In this way, you can make anything dynamic. The skills you learn in this video can be applied in other scenarios. I also did a similar video on this. Please watch it out if you have not on invoicing. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. If you have not liked the video, please like the video to encourage me produce more wonderful videos like this one. Have a great day and see you in the next video.